Oh, you got a letter that said you have to come in, it's in there. You got a phone call or a text message.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Oh, your packet? Yeah.
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 Wrote it down.
That's so thick, the, opted not to mail it.
Yeah. No, you're gonna read it.
I started looking through it, I didn't really get it.
Yeah, I did. No, I don't. Yeah.
Someone told me this.
Sorry.
Makes sense now.
Yep. He's here. He's sitting right there. He's here.
Lucky I can see that far when somebody's not hiding.
Like, he's here.
So what do you do?
Poor Bethany. You get so much junk.
I mean, it's well deserved, so.
Yeah. And we got Dr. List. She's all old from.
Will you please join me with the pledge of allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roger?
Good luck. All right. Get a chance to look at the minutes of the last meeting. Taking any corrections or additions to the minutes? Any corrections or additions?
Make a motion to accept minutes as presented.
Okay, second, made. Seconded.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Okay. I don't see a building permit. Let's see anything. Okay. Cash report. Any questions? on the cash report? No questions on the cash report? No vouchers? Any questions there?
Make a motion to approve cash report and journal vouchers.
Okay. I'll second it. Okay, motion is seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Committee reports. Where was Marlon?
I don't have anything tonight.
Like,
No, sir.
oh,
No, sir.
yeah,
We'll be having an ordinance meeting on the 12th of May at 6:15.
I can, before our meeting.
Before I meet.
Okay. That's it?
That's it for me.
Okay, thank you. Nothing for me. Roger,
Of course.
you're up.
We have two special permit applications that came in. One is from the First Bank, and that'll be their summer celebration request as they have annually for the closure of 15th Street between Main and the alley for their kickoff barbecue dinner there and entertainment on the weekend, summer celebration. That'll be June
Pretty much what they do every year.
27th, yeah. And so the committee is on board with that, paperwork's all in order. The second one was from Sheila Rice for the Rice family reunion had one last year, approximately the same time. It'll be July 13th. And the request to use the area around the cook shack / pool area. Everything comes around the pool area. But they have their own barbecue grills and games and what have you, approximately 100 people, but they were very clean last year. And again, could approve those. So
Okay.
I make a motion to approve those. And
Okay, motion for me to approve those two permits, any second?
second.
Okay, motion in second, any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, now, someone, why don't you take that one? The convention.
What's that?
Why don't you take that, lead convention?
Yes, all of us three girls are going to what we call our institute, which is a schooling that we have to go to every year to become certified municipal clerks, treasurers. And so we leave on Sunday. We have to be in class Sunday around 4. And then we have classes from Monday through Thursday. So we will be gone all those days.
So we'll miss
the council meeting.
So we need to.
So we need to move the meeting to the 12th of May.
Any issues with that?
Only part about it is it is in Fairmont this year, again this year, so that's not too bad.
Okay, that's what I was. Now, is that the meeting that,
You went to last year, I think.
well, but
No,
I went in October,
You went to Montana League.
but this is the one that's the good one to go to.
This is schooling.
Yeah, it's the schooling.
I don't think I could.
The only thing drawback is we'll have a meeting back to back on the 12th and the 19th, but it's okay. It's all good. Sometimes it happens.
We'll have Mrs. Kathy Buckingham will be here to watch the office.
Stay in the office, babysit me.
Babysitting.
Okay, I can do it. All right. Thank you. Public comments. I'll open it up for public comment. Karen.
I forgot to say last time when I was here that we are doing the recycling bonanza on May 3rd in connection with the city dump day. Unfortunately, the people who have taken the electronics in the past will not be coming. We thought we might be able to collect them and take them to them, but that didn't work out either. We will have shredding and all the rest of the stuff that we normally do. There should be flyers out and about. I didn't keep any, so I don't have one to show you, but I can get you more if you need more. It should be in the paper, I believe.
Yeah.
So the news is out. I just wanted to make sure that you were okay with that. Before that, Longhorn Day is the 1st, next Thursday. So there should be kids and some supervision all over town doing good things. We appreciate Scott and his crew helping out with truck locations or pickup of bags of things that people collect. But it should be east and west highways that the DOT will pick up, and then pretty much from BLM to the Riparian Trail on the river, and a couple of things at the community garden and the library and a couple places like that. Anything else that we're missing?
Good. Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody else? Okay. We're gonna go to, no,
You probably have time for Arbor Day.
oh, yeah, come to Arbor Day. Couple things on Arbor Day, comes down to new business. We got that resolution here somewhere, right? It's gonna read.
Yeah, it's in there. Should be. For proclamation.
What's this? I didn't see it.
It's no, you guys, he just reads it.
All right, I gotta have a copy of it to read it, so. Oh, there it is. Nope, that's there.
Oh, we did.
Yeah.
We'll just call it a compliment.
All right. Did it not? I was sure that put in ours.
That's volunteer fire department. Nope, I don't have it. Sorry. If you find it, I don't have it. Oh, jeez. Sticky pages. Okay, so before I read this, I'll just rehash a little bit. We had, the grade school art teacher, worked with her on a poster contest for Arbor Day. We just had all the posters are sitting over there on the golden table, and they've been judged. Grades 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 6th grade. And we judged them. We picked 1st, 2nd, and 3rd place winners on all those grades. We got the ribbons on, and we're gonna post them in the post office, all of them, for about a week, so everybody can see them. And we've got 4 trees we're gonna plant with the 5th grade class on Friday, which is the actual Arbor Day. So we'll be doing that. Can't remember the time, when I tell you the time was, remember? Anyway, it was in the paper, or at least, I sent it to you.
10 a.m.?
Yeah, somewhere around 10:30. We're gonna do 4 trees with the 5th graders. And then I haven't set the time yet, we've got 2 large ponderosa pines that we're gonna, one's a replacement, or both replacements, one at the Shep and one down at the Circle. We're gonna do those with the Lions Club youth that we just started here recently called the Legos. We haven't set the time on that yet, but it'll happen this week. So that's the Arbor Day functions, and with that, I will read the Arbor Day proclamation. In 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for planting of trees. And whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas the trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now therefore, I, Lanny Walker, Mayor of the City of Fort Benton, do hereby proclaim April 25th as Arbor Day in the City of Fort Benton. So I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And further, I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. And I might add, forgot one thing on the Arbor Day activities. I got a call from the state urban forester. She lives down in Helena, and she donated 50 lilac trees and 50 amber maple trees, containerized trees, so they're pretty good size, so about 16, 20 inches tall with a real nice root system. To anybody in the city of Fort Benton that wants to plant them in their yard. So I put it out with the county agent for the garden club, first come, first serve. And as of this morning, there were 20 maples left and a few lilacs. So those will all be going in on private property within the city to help the trees. So if you think you might want, I'll let you know, Bethany, how many we got left, so you can get it in the paper before the deadline. That's tomorrow, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But there's no sense putting it in if they're all used up.
Right.
As of this morning, there was 20 amber maples left.
Okay.
So if there's still some left, I'll let you know and we can put it in the paper. So because they're gonna come in on the 23rd with the state shipment, and I'd like to get them out. They don't just sit, because they're really fresh stock, and you don't wanna let them sit too long.
Are people calling the county extension office to put
Yeah,
their name on
they
it?
were, he's the contact for it.
Okay.
So, anyway. That is Arbor Day. Do we have to act on this resolution? Just proclamation?
It's just proclamation.
Okay.
And we have a public hearing.
Mr. Mayor, yeah. We
The
got
time's
a public
running
hearing.
Okay. All right, I'll close the meeting. We're gonna go to public hearing. For the public hearing resolutions. And we've got resolution 1631, resolution 1632, and 1633. These are coal severance tax loan programs, one for wastewater, one for water system, and one for the storm drain system in the industrial park.
Make a motion to pass resolution 1631, 1632, and 1633 as a combined package, because they all have to do with the same loan package and the water system, and dispense with the reading.
Okay, I sure appreciate that.
Yeah.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so we'll bring it up for discussion, and I'm gonna give the floor to Nathan, so he can speak on this.
Mayor.
I know you must have come prepared.
Mayor and council member, yeah, thank you. My name is Nathan Bilyeu. I'm with the law firm of Jackson, Myrtle, and Grant over in Helena, Montana, and I serve as bond counsel to Fort Benton, and I've been working with your team to put together this industrial development package that we've been working on here now for a few years. It started with a tax increment bond back in 2013, and now this is the next stage. So before I go into some of the details of the resolution, I'm just going to give a quick overview of kind of where we stand with your project budget, what these loans are funding. As Lanny said, you guys are looking on these resolutions at a drinking water revenue bond of $378,000, the wastewater project bond of $384,000, and then the storm sewer bond of $535,000. As a part of the larger package that your team, along with Great West Engineering and has built out for the industrial park infrastructure improvement project. The total project budget on that is just about 5.1 million with EDA grants. That's an Economic Development Administration grant of about 1.7 million. You've got an SB 536 grant, that's a state grant of 577,000. There's ARPA grant funds of another 175,000. And you've got that initial tax increment bond that we talked about that was issued back in 2022 of $900,000. And a lot of that money has been used to pay for engineering and design to get you guys out to bid on the project, but a significant portion of that's still allocated to construction. And since 2022, your tax increments continue to grow and accrue in that area as property values have gone up and as that tax abatement has come off the property over there. So a part of the final package will include a second tax increment bond for another $500,000. So the end result of all of that is that we can issue these 3 revenue bonds without having to increase water rates or sewer rates or that stormwater assessment you guys collect. So all of this will be able to fit within your current project budget. The terms are all at 3%. The sewer and the stormwater is at 20 years. The drinking water is a 25-year term. And the reason for that is simply that the state policy is that all coal severance loan tax loans are 20-year term unless you can demonstrate good cause for why they should agree to a longer term. The water loan is one that with 25 years, you can avoid that rate increase. The city has recently done a rate increase, so they were able to demonstrate the city's been doing what it needs to do to maintain its funds. And so the state agreed to have a longer term on that water one, and that avoided the need there. So under that's kind of the general scope of the project. And each of the 3 resolutions are largely the same. As I was explaining earlier to one of the council members here, they seem like overly onerous resolutions, but much of the federal and state tax law applies regardless of whether you're Billings, whether you're Fort Benton. The federal law applies whether you're New York City or Fort Benton. There's some tax and security law representations we have to make. But I'll walk you through Resolution 1631, which is your drinking water bond resolution, or it's actually your sewer, your wastewater system one. And then I'll point out to the extent your wastewater and your drinking water are identical other than that 25-year term. And then your wastewater and your storm sewer are identical other than the fact that rather than monthly rates, your storm water rates are collected with taxes with that assessment. So those are the kind of differences between the 3 loans. Otherwise, the covenants that I'm going to go through are consistent across the 3 different resolutions. So the first page of the resolutions all just recite the project budget, which we just went through in some detail, and the state law that authorizes the city to proceed with issuing this debt and moving forward with the project. There is a long list of definitions, which you can skip to page 6 to get through all of my definitions until you get actually to page 7. And this is all in section 1. That's section 1.5. I'll give kind of a high-level overview, and then if there's specific questions that folks have, we can touch it on. Section 1.5 is one of the key ones under state law. That's a determination of public interest, that y'all as the elected body determine that this project is in the public interest, promotes the general public good of your town. So that is something that upon adopting this resolution, is a finding that's necessary to qualify for the coal severance loan program, that you have to have had your elected body determine that this project is in the public interest, so that we can use these monies that are generated whenever coal is extracted. There's a tax that the coal companies pay. It comes right into this program. Some of it's divvied out for housing, some of it's divvied out for infrastructure. And the key thing is just that you have local public bodies determine if this is a public interest project, and it can qualify for this coal tax money. Each one of these are going to lay out the sources and uses of funds in section 1.6. So that goes through how much is going to be in construction, how much is paying your engineers, how much is going to pay what's called the debt service reserve. You're going to have one semi-annual payment held in reserve, and if you never need it, then it's just used to make your last payment. So that's kind of how that works. They require you to finance that up front, and that way you don't get into a situation where, say, you have a couple of large ratepayers that are delinquent. You don't want to be in the situation where a late payment, a couple months later or something causes you to default under your loan and impact your credit rating. So you fund one semi-annual payment up front, hold that in a reserve account. If you never need it, you use it on the back end to make the last payment. There is representation in section 1.08 that the city will ensure that they have revenues available. This is for the various enterprise funds. So every year when you're doing your budgeting, as you're already obligated to do under state law, you'll sit down, you'll look at your operation and maintenance expenses from the prior year. You project, working with your team, what you think that anything's going to go up as inflation impacted that. And then as a part of that analysis, you'll be obligated to include your debt service every year as a part of your budget. So you're always budgeting in debt service when you're setting your rates for the town on these various water, sewer, and storm water. The section 2 goes to a lot in just the sort of the structure and form and the term of these bonds, what's going to be in them, how we're going to register them. Some of that Cindy gets to learn about in that class that you're sending her to. And what happens if these terms, a lot of this is federal securities law. Essentially, we're talking about how you evidence the bond. And there is what's approved as the bond specimen is Exhibit A in this resolution. And effectively what much of Section 2 is doing is detailing the terms that are actually in Section A and how you actually evidence this bond and how you ever, ensure that it's registered, how you know who owns it, who to pay. When you get into Section 3 is where you get into some of the more of the details specifically. You commit to using the proceeds of this bond for the project that's been approved. When you close, this is not like a drawdown bond. Some of you have worked with SRF loans in the past, they're revolving fund loans where you have approved draws and then you draw it down as you need it. That's not how this works. When we close with these coal severance tax bonds, you get the money on April 29th, all of the money is going to be in your account. So you just get the money, you're making covenants that you're going to actually use it for what you're saying you're going to use it for. And that's the kind of thing that, your auditor tracks every year. Cindy shows that in her funds, in her accounts, but tracking that money, you get it up front, you got a covenant to use it for a qualified project. Each of these go through and cite the date, maturity, and interest rate. There's that 3%. Again, the sewer one's for 40 semi-annual installments for 20 years. Same with your storm water. The drinking water is 25. There's no restriction on early redemption of the bonds, essentially prepayment. So if ever you wanted to prepay the debt, there's no restriction, no prepayment penalty, anything like that. You have some additional covenants that are in Section 4. These get into the kinds of covenants that are more relevant to usually to larger cities, but one of the things that you promise not to do is you're essentially not going to lease out your system to a for-profit company, allow them to make profit, and then you just cover the debt for them. So this has to be an actual really public utility, which you guys tend to do, but that is one of the restrictions. Or if you're ever to sell it to a for-profit company, you have to pay off your loan. There's a restriction on what's called arbitrage yield, whole section in this Section 5. Cindy might learn a little bit about that, but because you get all of this cash up front, you have to pledge to actually spend it for the project. So you can't just say, we're going to issue this debt. Federal tax law requires you to spend it within 3 years, but if you don't have an actual good faith project that you're moving forward, you can't sit for 3 years, 3% money, reinvest it, make 10% and keep the arbitrage, keep the difference. to the extent you go and invest the money and make more than 3%, the IRS wants it back. So that's part of one of the restrictions on these bonds. You're actually going to use it for projects. It's not just an investment vehicle. The city of Phoenix ruined that fund for everybody by funding millions of dollars of their general fund budget during the 1980s, arbitraging these kind of bonds. And now everyone from Phoenix to Fort Benton has to have a lengthy commitment to not engage in arbitrage with these municipal bonds. Section 5 requires, and this is consistent with your state accounting requirements, but you have you have an account for your operating costs, you have an account for your various revenue bonds, and essentially that you're pulling money and allocating it to your different debt service. So you're not, it's just one bank account, but as Cindy actually books this, she's not just having one pool of money, there's actually separate accounts under your fund where you put in money to pay debt service, put in money to pay operating expenses. You have that reserve fund that we talked about sitting in a separate account, so that every year when your auditor looks at this, they can say, okay, they're holding on to the reserve they're required to. She can ensure that you're actually meeting your obligations. There's funds going into the debt service account, there's funds going into the operating account, everything's traceable. So if anybody looks at your books, they can see exactly what the money's going to and can ensure that you're in compliance with your covenants. Moving through, section 6 has just sort of a number of general covenants for the city. So one of the things that you covenant to do includes carrying, you've got your municipal insurance, you can continue to carry your municipal insurance so that if, ever for some reason there's an earthquake or something happens in your water system, your wastewater system goes down, you kind of lose your leverage to get folks to pay their water rates. You're not providing any service while your system's down. So to the extent there's some kind of a loss, your insurance is going to step in, get the system back up and running, and then again, people start paying rates again, and you can make good on your bond holders here. Section 6.12 just sort of goes through, that's one of the other key ones it goes through and just notes if you're going to continue to operate this system, and that if ever the city stops operating it, that your debt holder, like this state, the state of Montana, could step in and appoint a superintendent to run it. I've only seen that happen in Benton, Montana, where all of they're a water and sewer district, and everybody on the board just quit. And the operator quit, and nobody was running the system. So the state came in and contracted with the city of Boulder to operate Basin's drinking water and sewer system until the county could get folks nominated and fill the position. So if that kind of thing ever happened, if just city got everyone here decides this is too little pay for too much work and steps aside and you can't get an operator, this covenant here allows your debt holders to go find somebody that hire someone from the city of Great Falls to come and operate it until they can refill your seats. So always ensures, in other words, that as long as you have debt outstanding, someone's going to be operating your system. Some of the other, so we have some of these tax matter covenants, section 0.09. Again, you have general expectation to operate the system for at least as long as these bonds are outstanding. There's a representation. This gives you guys some advantages in your interest rate, that you're not intending to issue over $10 million in municipal debt in this calendar year. That allows some, again, it cuts about 0.5% off your interest rate if you're issuing less than $10 million. But otherwise, that covers generally the covenants on all 3 of these different resolutions. So having sprayed all that out like a fire hose, are there any specific questions that came up as folks were reviewing these?
Any questions for me? Thank you. You're well prepared. I appreciate you making the drive up.
Yeah.
And I might add, this is pretty much the final step for this industrial park project. For some of the room that might not know what this is, we're putting infrastructure, water, sewer, and storm drains in what we call industrial park, which is basically from kind of behind Wolf Motors on the west side of Highway 223 or St. Charles, and back in there. And then Mountain View Co-op's included, the hemp plants included, and any other areas in there that aren't developed. Hopefully, we'll get people to come in and start businesses in those areas and bring more taxes into the town with putting this infrastructure in there. And also, the Benton Hospital is looking at annexing right there, bordering it and coming in with a hospital. So it's a lot of things happening in the next couple of years. And I might add, it was a long time coming. You said, how long has it been? Well, Rick Morris started this, the late Rick Morris, 12 years ago, almost 13 now. And we will start construction the 1st of June. So it was a long old haul. A lot of people worked hard to get here. Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, I think 7 years ago, I remember meeting with Mayor Morris right here with him sort of vision cast and a lot of this, so.
Right. So, well, we're closed meeting, so I think, thank you. If anybody has any more questions for him, we'll just jump to the variance. We're closed.
Let's close this out first.
We had a vote on this. We had a vote on it.
Oh,
Yep,
haven't
yep, yep.
voted, sorry. I'm gonna get fired from this job.
Oh, you're not.
It's almost like you're trying.
Okay, so. Any more questions before we go to the vote?
Now, are we voting right now on all three resolutions?
Right, that was the vote.
Okay.
Without reading it.
Okay.
Verbatim. Okay, so by roll call, Merlin.
Aye.
Dyke.
Aye.
Corey.
Aye.
Ben.
Aye.
Merlin.
Aye.
Right.
Aye.
Okay. Make a note. 6 ayes, 0 nays, no absence. Okay.
Lanny, at the end of your meeting, I already warned Cindy, but I'm sitting with a bunch of closing documents, so all those little yellow tabs, I need signatures from you and Cindy.
Before you get in to drive home?
Yeah, so I'll wait for you guys to
Okay.
finish now.
All right.
Right.
Good. Okay, so now we can jump to the other part of the public hearing. Variance to install garage. Who wants to start with that?
Would you like me to present on it a little bit?
I don't know what it's
Sure,
about.
yeah, you bet. We purchased the, old Ferguson house at 1508 Washington Street, and we'd like to put a new garage in the back. The variance request is that, the 10-foot limit off of the lot line. The current house is at the 8-foot line that goes all the way back, and we'd like to keep the garage in line with the house. The neighbor, we've got a approval from the neighbor, on the other neighboring lot. She didn't have any.
You got a letter from him?
Yes, it should have been attached with the document. Didn't make it in.
Okay.
I can certainly get you all of those. Yep, she provided a signed letter for us. Sorry that you don't have that. Yep. We're 17 feet off the alley, so plenty inside that alley line, but the variance request is for that 8-foot
For the
versus
setback.
Yeah.
Setback. So
off of that.
2 feet off the setback.
Yes, off the neighbors. Yep.
You know what year that house was built?
1968.
Okay, so at that time, hopefully they were compliant
Yeah. Okay.
for the setback change. Mark, you want to add some?
I've looked at it, there's no reason not to approve it.
Okay.
The house is 8 foot from the property line
Mhm.
without a survey, actually, where it is from the property line. And it lines up with the house that way instead of being jogged in.
Okay, any questions for him?
Make a motion to approve the variance.
Okay, motion for move to approve the variance.
Second.
Motion for made and seconded. Any more discussion? Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Congratulations.
Thanks, sir.
All right, we're gonna go back in the session again. There's no unfinished business. we've covered Arbor Day already. So we'll go to the volunteer work. Matthew, anybody have any information on that?
Matthew Chick is married to Stephanie Holtz.
Okay.
They purchased, what used to be Fortune's house down here. And
Okay.
no, okay.
Okay. I'll entertain the motion. There's no more discussion.
I make a motion to approve the application of Matthew Chick.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion made and seconded to accept these applications of volunteer fire department. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Motion carried. Okay, Cindy, you're up again. 2025 audit.
Okay, the auditors came in on Monday, April 14th, I believe. Thank you guys in. They were here till Wednesday morning doing the audit, and we became a federal audit because we received more than $750,000 federal money expended. So we did an audit. They had 2 findings that we've got to answer to, which happened to be monies from ARPA funds. So we're going to get some answers to them on this ARPA money, but other than that, everything went well. They left out of here on Wednesday morning.
And actually, to expand on that, the findings should turn out to be good for us.
Yeah.
There was some ARPA money that was requested from the county that they never responded to us, so hopefully we get that from them. And then the other one was just kind
I'm
of
still
lost.
trying to figure it
Just
out.
kind
I
of
can't
lost in the
figure out.
ARPA.
I can't figure out what
Like
he's talking about anyway.
So, once we figure this out, that money's roughly about $90,000 worth. We're probably gonna use it, we can use it as long as we can get it done by the end of the year. Put that altitude valve on the old tank. Okay. Providing that old tank passes inspection, we're gonna do that before we spend any money on it. And then if we got this, we'll use it, we can get it done by the end of the year. Because our money's gotta be done by the end of the year, we lose it. So if not, Industrial Park will use it if you can't get that done. So, any questions for Cindy on the audit? Okay. New business summer celebration and the fundraiser.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think do they have the letter that we sent in? I emailed the letter in.
Nope.
I don't think so. Okay, I do have a copy. It's basically the same as every year. There's a highlighted, on there. The one thing we're requesting is, permission to paint, a washable chalk line along the parade route down, not from here, but down where the streets are closed off. Just to keep people from coming up to the animals and it is very dangerous. And one thing we cannot do, our insurance will not cover us anymore, is throw out candy. It has to be handed out. So that is something new that we will have to enforce. We have two new parade Sharpie persons, Kim Cutoff and Tony Perez. Tony's from Great Falls. He actually grew up here in Fort Benton. His grandfather was a county commissioner 30 years ago. But he and his wife are volunteering to help. So they're working on getting some airmen to help us with the parade. It's just gotten really big and kind of out of control. As we found out from last year, we will not be letting animals in that aren't.
So that's kind of a result from that one going wild on you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was just, it probably got placed, or it placed it, so I don't know, near, what we understand is maybe some noisy, vehicles. So with our, we're hoping to have 15 to 20, 12 would be great, volunteers to kind of, line the parade up, in, categories. And then, we won't have animals there, anything loud. But that being said, we were hoping to, people were saying last year that it just was like a tunnel going through the crowd just came right up. So whether they'll listen to you or not, but if we have some chalk lines and we have volunteers going by and saying, please, stay behind the lines, please stay behind the lines. And the candy won't, be closed, it'll be, handed out and maybe thrown on the ground or, so we're trying to get really organized with that. We're having a form that they have to fill out online. Then we'll have hand forms too, but just so we can keep the information and they abide by, we're just, gonna have to say, by signing this, you're abiding by all Montana laws, so, we don't have to ask for proof of insurances or anything like that. That just keeps us from having to do that and kind of covering all the bases. So, the chalk line is really the only thing different. I've been in contact with Scott and I've sent, just kind of the timeline of when they do things for us. He's super good, and he's, great to work with. The city crew is great. We really appreciate them. But other than that, it's kind of the same, except we're gonna try to be a lot more organized with the parade so we don't have, it just has gotten really big from what I understand. I'm never down here, but, we maybe had 50 people, 50 entries. So, and I think it's just gonna get, bigger.
Oh, you got more than that.
I have absolutely, and that way with the form, that's another way to be able to, know what we have. And then if there is an incident, we have all the information. We have, names and addresses and emails and that, so it's just.
So
Got it.
what is it you want from the council tonight?
Nothing, just to kind of approve, there's just a list, I sent it to the city, it's the one off the internet, and I had sent you something before.
So Jandy, what you're looking at is from like the class reunion folks and everybody, they aren't gonna be able to throw candy, is that
They
what you're?
cannot, our insurance is saying, well, according to Jana, who filled out our insurance, and the insurance was attached to it as well. So.
It's a misdemeanor in Great Falls.
Yeah, Great Falls is.
We did copyright, yep.
I mean,
Okay, I will get it.
that
It
was,
sounds
I've
crazy,
always
but-
seen that was a big problem, where, the little kids come right out, they throw candy. And
I mean,
they
the
go
candy's
off,
like
and you got
100%
cars
what the
coming
sprays
and-
about, so I'm not really sure.
I think it'll be, I mean, it'll, Port Connie's the one having the. No, it's just changing the times. A lot of, if you look online, a lot of parades have cut that out because of, probably incidences like we had, or just a kid in the dangerous and get ran over. So, I'm not really looking for anything except what's on here with, just the same old things that we asked for.
I don't know, but would you take kind of a thought or?
I think, somebody has for the.
Wait a minute, that's a variance.
Yeah, no, someone else is handling that,
Okay.
and that is in the letter that we will have all of the.
Because we actually require that as part of our insurance.
Yep, and that is something
Okay.
that,
Great.
No, I think I'd rather in there that we will be providing that.
Great.
And then the street closure permits and, for the fun run. So the fun run's gonna be the same. Kate Johnson has taken over our fun run, our highway patrolman. I asked her, is it patrolman? She's like, yes, it's patrolman. Anyway, so that's another, new, committee member we have, so. You guys have any questions?
Yeah, if you could
Yes.
resend all of that maybe, because it did not come through that I know of.
Okay, I will. Thank you. What's that?
How the people who have the candy walk behind the chalk line?
Well, they'll be up like beside the chalk line.
Even if they're behind it though, I mean, I've done it enough that the kids will come to, I mean, it's gonna be the Pied Piper, right? The kids will come to where that is, so if they're 3 or 4 feet into the
Yeah,
chalk
I mean,
line.
yeah, absolutely. And we're not asking Scott to do it. We will have volunteers do that. It'll be something that'll wash off in a few days. Some kind of a line. Kate said stay away from all those yellow lights.
Some of the kids gonna know what it is.
What's that?
Are they?
Well, we'll have people, we're gonna have people along the way, kind of saying, keep behind the line.
Kind of like a hall monitor.
Kind of, we're gonna try it. It's better than, nothing. And
Well, I would think there's other communities that would do the same.
they're the
thing.
same thing. We got online and looked at rules, and Great Falls has, oodle. Like I said, we're just gonna say, please abide by all Montana laws.
I would suggest make sure your class reunion people, they don't bring in candy and start tossing, or your other
We'll
people?
probably have some posted, signs down here. They will also get emailed when they fill out this form, the rules. So they'll have to read through those rules, initial or sign their name as, as a signature. And then they'll get emailed, that as well. It's gonna be a learning curve for everybody because they just like showed up.
You could frisk them before they get on the float.
Are you volunteering?
We get all the candy.
I mean, that's a little.
If they bring candy, we get it.
So, yeah, it's, hopefully it's just like I said, got really big and, kind of hard for just a few volunteers, so we're hoping. Tony, I don't know if I finished that. Tony Perez is asking some airmen from Great Falls to do some volunteer
Yeah, you mentioned that. That'd be good.
stuff down there. But now families will stay too, so,
Yeah.
anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Oh,
All right,
there's kids.
go to department head, Cindy, you got anything more?
Kelly.
Just that we're gonna be gone
Mayor,
next.
Mr.
Whitney,
Mayor.
how about you? No, that's covered. Mark, any more from you? Carlos, you got a lot going on.
Yeah. Well, we're just springtime, so we're just ramping up. We just finished doing fire hydrants this week. Scott and his crew are working on the storm drains. Still waiting for a motor for the blower motor at the lagoons. Got a great price on it, but the guy ghosted me, so I don't know what's going on with that. So I'm trying to get a hold of him. Soon we're gonna be raising the manholes here soon. I'm not sure when that's gonna start, but, I think Scott said next week we might be patching some of this asphalt too. We're supposed to do it this week, but with the weather, we kind of moved it.
You mentioned our new hire.
Oh yeah, we got a new hire, Dustin Lehman.
Just started today.
Kelly's spot, so he started today. So, that's all I got for now.
Thank you, Carl. Carol, you got anything? Oh,
Yeah, I have a comment. The May 12th board meeting that you're planning to reschedule, that is the same night as the tourism assessment that Roger Brooks from Destination Development is coming in to do. We had tried to schedule that intentionally on an off night for city council because we were hoping to have as many city council representatives at that meeting as possible. So I don't know if there's something that can be done. That meeting is planned for 6 o'clock at the elementary auditorium.
Okay. Well,
Can we do it to 13?
No,
well, we can,
no. Our meeting is, because it's claims,
yeah,
we can't go, you know, we can't go farther past.
That's already stretching it all the way to the.
That's right.
12th. Okay.
Unfortunately.
There's no way you
it's
could
gonna have to be a
reschedule?
conflict. That's
So you just do it a little bit later.
We could,
Oh, we could do it, if you could do it later.
Yeah, just change the time, maybe same night. We
This
could
is supposed to
probably,
be like 2.5 hours.
how much time do you need?
well,
an hour.
Hour.
Who knows what's on our
a lot of
agenda?
times we're out here.
It's like
30 minutes,
tonight.
we just don't know.
We have an abundance of detail, and who knows what will come. But unfortunately, we've got bills to pay, public bills.
And they're gonna be a week late already, so.
Yes,
Our meeting is supposed to be 2.5 hours. I can ask them if we can push it back because our marketing materials aren't out yet, but I don't know if we can push it back a full hour if it's
We
2.5
can
hours
put it this
long.
way, you can start your meeting, and I can promise you, I'll come over there as soon as we're done. How's that?
I do it. I'll come over too.
I
I
mean,
mean, we're at 7:15
Hopefully we
now.
won't miss a whole lot. How's that sound? And it's gonna be at the school this time?
Mhm. We wanted lots of room because we're gonna invite the whole community, basically.
Okay, all right. How's that sound? What's your plan on doing that? We'll try to get our meeting done as quick as we can. And,
I'll ask about moving it to 6:32 and give a little time.
okay, all right, thank you.
Because it's gonna be, we're about done, and it's 7:20.
Yeah, right.
It depends what the meeting's like, it might be good.
Might be
Yeah, it
short.
could be 20 minutes, we don't know.
Don't invite lawyers, yeah.
Yeah, don't like the lawyer.
All right, well, no other business, meeting adjourned. Thanks for coming.
Yeah. So I got to.
Thank you for reading.
Thanks again for the.
Oh, yeah. Town City, so as you guys know, normally there's a lot of things to sign, but you gotta do a triplicate for 3 different loans. Well, Wendy, I apparently told me the trustee to find all the signatures, so she put stickies on all of them. Yeah. So if you find a space, I can kind of separate it out and make sure to get everything signed.
So like to change that to 6:30. It's just frustrating because the intention was to schedule the vote on that. That's the end of the
Yes.
I don't think we can change.